Well, major season is finally here, and the focus is on the California desert for the A&A Inspiration. For the 35th time, Mission Hills Country Club will crown major champion #1 on the LPGA Tour.
One is the defending champion, the other searching for a first win since 2014. We have new information on Lydia Ko and Michelle Wie as both players prepare for the first major of the season.
1 week before the men's first major, I'll let you know what major champions Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, and Justin Rose are doing to get their game sharp ahead of the Shell Houston Open. Golf Central starts now.
Golf Central, brought to you by Titleist.
Since 1972, Mission Hills Country Club in Rancho Mirage has been the host for the A&A Inspiration for the 35th time. This will be contested as a major on the Dinah Shore Tournament course, the first major of the year on any tour. And remember, just a year ago, the final round of the A&A Inspiration, co-leader Lydia Ko playing her third to the par 5 18th hole. And this is how you close out your second career major victory. Remember, she won the 2015 Evian Championship, sticks that to about a foot for birdie, taps it in, moves her to 12 under par. Good enough for her second major title and her first ever leap into Poppy's Pond in Rancho Mirage, California. So hey there, welcome into Golf Central. I'm George Savarikis. Last year, nobody could touch Lydia Ko. She not only won the A&A Inspiration, but also the Kia Classic the week before. Now in 2017, she missed the cut in the Kia Classic and hasn't won in 8 months. Lisa Cornwell is live at Mission Hills for all this week. And Lisa, what is Ko's mindset coming off just her second missed cut in her career on the LPGA Tour?
You know, George, it's really interesting. We've really seen Lydia Ko grow up before our very eyes. The only other time she missed a cut, which the numbers are astonishing, was 2015 at the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. She was chasing Annika Sorenstam's made cuts record. She was really upset after that. It was something that she hadn't dealt with. She kind of dealt with the emotions. This is a much different Lydia Ko now. She is in a different place. She's almost a veteran out here. When you hear from her, it's interesting. Of course, she's disappointed with not making the cut, but she made the most of her weekend.
I was a little bit disappointed because I was within the cut line, and then not the greatest finishes, missing 2 short putts and then 3 putting the last. I think that's what was kind of in my head, and I said, hey, I almost rather wish I missed a cut at like 10 over or something, not just by 1. I said, at least I missed a cut at a very nice place. I hung out, watched a movie with another player, that evening. And obviously I need to, think everything through, coming into this week. But, I just wanted to, have a day off and, just chill out. And there's actually a really, really good shabu shabu place, like 10 minutes from here. So I said, hey, I've got 1 more day to eat shabu shabu. And then I went on Sunday. So, which ended up being the case. And I just tried to think positively. And the last time I missed a cut in New Jersey, I went and watched Wicked on Saturday. So I'm just trying to take the positives of it, and hopefully it doesn't happen often. But I chose the right places to do it, and I found the great thing to look forward to, which was shabu shabu last weekend.
A little more insight on Lydia Ko as we say hello to Randall Mell, senior writer for GolfChannel.com. We just heard from Lydia there. She's talking about the fun that she had over the weekend, not stressed out at all about missing the cut. Randall, her ball striking's been solid. Putting, that's not what we're used to seeing from Lydia.
Right, Lisa. When we talked about her coming into this year and all the sweeping changes, the change of equipment, the change of caddy, the change of coach, we didn't really think we'd be talking about, her putting right now, but really that is what's affected her most coming into the year. And it is early, but she's 41st in putting She was first in putting last year, second the year before. She's coming off a cut where she had 64 putts, just very un-Lydia-like. The Poana obviously was a huge factor in there, but what people don't know is that Lydia made some changes in her putting too. She's completely abandoned the left-hand low. She used to switch from left-hand low for short putts to conventional. She's gone all conventional, and that's something that Gary Gilchrist, her new coach, favors. And also just a little subtle change in her stroke where they've been working on going open to square to closed versus where she used to be a little bit of a push putter.
Two-time major winner. She's held the #1 spot in the Rolex Women's World Rankings for 75 weeks. The person chasing her for that, world #2, Ariya Jutanugarn. We'll talk about her in just a little bit. For now, George, we'll go back to you.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Well, it does happen on the LPGA Tour, but it's been 15 years since we saw someone take the ANA Inspiration 2 years in a row. That player, Miss 59, Annika Sorenstam, who successfully defended her crown and made consecutive leaps into Poppy's Pond back in 2002. With Golf Channel analyst Tripp Eisenhower now. Tripp, they touched on the putting changes or tweaks that she had made, and the big picture was the change in swing coaches from David Ledbetter to Gary Gilchrist. How has that changed her swing from what you've seen?
Well, there have been a lot of good changes, and they've come fairly rapidly. I'm a little surprised by how quickly some of these changes are getting implemented into her game. Now, they're there in practice. Are they getting there on the course? Now, I spoke to Gary today on what they're working on. Here is last year at the ANA on the left, and this is earlier this year in Australia. The takeaway is huge. She was leaning to the left, her right hip was high, and she was sucking the club inside and getting quite shut. There you can see a much better move, a much better on plane, face square. The face is not shut there. So from there, all she can do is just turn, and the club on the right is just going to follow right up the plane. Very few compensations. Now, what she had to do when she sucked it in and she was leaning left, she had to really lift the club, which is what she was doing. It got across the line. She got the club face open. There you can see a much better turn into her right side, and that's the other thing Gary wanted. But really, he did a lot of this, he said, at the setup. He got her left hip higher, her right hip a little lower, and her hands were a little bit behind the ball at address. He moved those hands even with the ball, especially with her driver, and there you can see the results from it. Now, as a player, what you have to go through is as you implement these changes, yeah, you're going to have some inconsistencies, and we saw that from Lydia last fall, but we're starting to see the better ball striking week to week for Lydia, and that is a good thing, because I don't think it's going to be long that she's going to putt very poorly. She did putt extremely poor last week, as Randall said. When you have over 60 putts in 2 days, it's going to be tough to score, but I do like these changes. I think they're on the right track, and one thing we know about Lydia Ko, when she gets up near the lead, regardless of what that swing is, she's able to get it done and to win so often on the LPGA Tour.
Yeah, she's definitely a closer and still a teenager, kind of a scary duo so far. Here's the twosome that will see the first couple rounds in California, playing alongside the 2009-2015 champ. Brittany Lincecum is Lydia Ko, has already captured a W on the LPGA. Lincecum won the season opening event in the Bahamas. So for more storylines to watch this week, let's once again go back out to Rancho Mirage, California, to Lisa Cornwell and Randall Mell. Lisa.
Yeah, George, it's really interesting. And Randall, I think Tripp made a great point there about Lydia and her quick changes and learning from that. Another player who learned quickly from what happened last year, world #2, Ariya Jutanugarn. Hard to believe this time last year she came into this event ranked 51st in the world. She had a 2-shot lead going into the last 3 holes, went bogey, 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 and ended up finishing solo 4th, losing by a couple shots. All that being said, you've talked to her. I know you've talked to the ladies from Vision 54. She learned a lot from that experience.
She did. It really is the turning point in her career. Lynn Marriott and Pia Nilsson at Vision 54, they really studied what happened over those final few holes, and where a lot of players will slow down and take too much time looking at putts and things, they found that Ariya really sped everything up. So they devised a routine that really helped her under pressure, and Gary Gilchrist, her coach, really looked at her swing. She has a tendency to get too steep, and that's why she doesn't like to hit drivers and probably won't carry one this week. But then another big factor too is Les Lurick, her caddy, who she's back with, introduced her to a 2-iron, and that really was career-changing idea from Les Lurick, because she just attacks with that thing and can actually hit the 2-iron as far as some drivers of other players, and it's really turned her around. The confidence in that's kind of infected her, the rest of her bag, where her lack of confidence in her driver kind of infected her game, and now it's the other way around.
And it's really amazing with Ari. You mentioned that 2-iron, which Jerry Foltz made a great point a couple of days ago. That's technically a 1-iron, the old school 1-iron with the loft. So what she's able to do with that golf club is really impressive. You mentioned that 1-iron or the 2-iron. You mentioned her length on this golf course. Let's talk about the setup, just under 6,800 yards. A lot of times it favors a player like Aria, but then we saw the precision out of Lydia. What are your thoughts on the setup this week?
Yeah, they've had perfect weather to create perfect major championship conditions here. They had a wet winter, so the rough is longish and lush, but then it dried out here I don't know, a week, 10 days ago, and so the greens and fairways are firm and fast. Perfect conditions for what they want. It's windy here, but it all depends on how they actually set it up and decide to keep the rough length, because we've seen through 6 events a lot of low, super low scores in the LPGA. Too low, I think. 3 tournament records in 6 events. 3 wins were 20 under or better. So, you know, they've been going way low, but I don't think so this week.
Randall, we always appreciate the insight. George, coming up, speaking of another long hitter, we'll hear from Michelle Wee and what she thinks it's going to take for her to get back into the winner's circle for the first time since 2014 later in the show.
All right, look forward to it, Lisa. And you know, if it's ANA Inspiration Week, spring has sprung. It's once again time for someone to make the historic leap into Poppy's Pond. Lydia, Michelle, Lexi, the best of the LPGA Tour will battle it out for the year's first major. Our coverage begins Thursday at noon and 7 o'clock Eastern. We're just getting the party going tonight on Golf Central. It's the last event before the Masters. We're going to have a full report with some of the notable names in Houston this week. And an alternate shot, Feinstein and Shaq debate. Who's number 2 in the world after DJ? And still ahead, we'll look at the top 5 finishes at the ANA Inspiration, from Mickey Wright to Kari Webb to Betsy King. Who made our selective list?
Golf Central is brought to you by the Volkey Design SM6 wedges, progressive design, precision performance, Grip Confidence, Grip Golf Pride.